All right, algebra, if you're here now, you should have already watched the homework video or the parts that you felt you weren't understanding. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay, here, this is the very beginning of 7.2, so find 7.2 in your notes. Okay, the title page looks like this. Okay, and go back one slide, it should be at the top of the page, but they're asking you just to identify what like terms are. This is imperative to know, very important to know for what we're doing today. So what I want you to do is I want you to do them, underline, circle, whatever you want to do, but pause the video because I'm going to put the answers up here. So pause it and then you can play forward in just a minute. All right, so here are the answers. Big key, right? Variables with the same exponent. We call that the degree, right? So the variable that has the same degree, both 2's, both 1's, or in this case, there is no variable. The variable is x to the 0, right? Those are the same. That's all you're looking for like terms, okay? So same letter, same degree, same number exponent. Right? So again, that's really important for what we're doing because we're going to be adding and subtracting polynomials. So take those many numbered terms, those many sets, and how do we combine them? And the idea is what you're doing is you are making sure that you combine like terms. Okay, so step one, really quick, because they are written like this, one of the things you want to make sure you're careful of is this guy right here. Okay, right now we're adding, so this is easy, but this sign is distributed through here. Okay, it doesn't mean it changes it. If it's a positive sign, it's 5 times positive. Positive, and a positive times a negative is negative. That doesn't change anything here, okay? But we always want to pay attention to this because when it is subtraction, you're going to see some things we need to do. So 2 ways to do this. One is simply to look through here and combine all your like terms. So I would say, look, this is a squared, 3a squared. There's no other a squareds, okay? Next, I go to drop down, so a squared, now a to the first, so this is my only a to the first. Okay, and then the last part, because there's 2 of them, these are the 2 without a variable, and I do the math. What is 8 minus 1? 8 plus 7. This would be my answer. Okay, you're looking through them, and what you're doing is identifying like terms and putting them together. So on this one, I would do the same thing. I want to find my like terms, so I'm going to kind of look through it first. A squared and squared, I want to put those together. These are my x's. This one has an x, this one has an x, and the last one here, we've got a 4 and a 9. So those are the 3 different terms I have to deal with. So I can kind of think of it like this and say, okay, my blue things, I need to do those. So 3x squared minus x squared. Okay, 3x squared minus x squared. 3x squared minus x squared. I'm just going to write all these out here. Negative 8x plus 5x and 4 plus 9. That's kind of a way just to rewrite it. I'm just kind of putting together the things that need to go together. And now I can kind of simplify a little bit by actually doing the math here. This would be 2x squared. The red one, okay, again, be careful with your adding, subtracting negatives. Negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3x. And then the yellow ones there are plus 13. Okay, so you have this. Now, the way I solved this is I kind of left it the way it was written, right? I kind of left it all out in this kind of horizontal way. But sometimes what they do, instead of kind of doing it horizontally and writing out this way, they'll take this exact idea, and what I'm going to do is just, and they'll layer them vertically. What I mean by that is they'll take this guy right here, and they'll move him underneath this one. So plus 3x squared minus 8x plus 9. And when they do this, they make sure that the like terms are all lined up. Okay, and some people prefer to do this just for organizational reasons. And then all you're doing is kind of like an very old school math problem, right? Where you're just adding straight down. Think way back to like first grade where you were just adding. Hey, 4 plus 9. Oh, that's 13. 5, it's a little harder math, right? 5x minus 8x. Oh, that's negative 3x. Okay, so depending on the way you want to do it, if you want to kind of think through it this way, I'll show you an example. Well, what if there's something missing like on this one? How do I handle that? Okay, but kind of nice way to organize it and think through that. Same answer either way. Okay, this one says find the difference. Okay, so we'll take a look at this one. It's the same concept, but what you have to be careful about, and I'm going to do this, we'll do it in black, I guess, here. I'm going to take this guy, and I have to distribute this negative all the way through. And what that means, this is what I was saying earlier, is I all of a sudden have negative 2y squared, and then negative 5. So it's actually plus 5y, and negative 3, which is plus 3. You have to be careful before you do anything else, you distribute your negative. Okay? And because this one's kind of set up this way, I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it over here. And notice this is really nice. It kind of lines up already, all right, for us to do. And I will do my squareds. So y squared minus 2y squared. Okay? Please be careful. There's a 1 in front of this guy. So it's 1 minus 2, which is negative y squared. I've got these, they're both positive, so plus 9y, right? 4 plus 5. And then the last one, all right, plus 5, 2 plus 3. That would be the subtracted version. Okay? So one more time, make sure first you do the distributive property. Okay? And then, after you do that, negative 2x squared plus 6, all right, then you're going to go ahead and like subtract them. Okay? You already did, just so you know, and I want to make sure, I didn't really mention that. I added these, and I want to make sure everybody sees that, right? At the end of the day, I added because I already did the distributive property. The negative, I didn't see it as a subtraction sign. I saw it as a add, a minus, right? Right, so we add a line, change the sign kind of idea. So I distributed through, and I then could add them together because that negative was included in everything. So because I've already taken care of this negative, now basically it becomes like I added a line, I changed the signs of these guys, right? I'm kind of thinking through it that way. And so I'm going to add them together. Now, when I'm doing this one the vertical way, I want to show you. If I did this, if I slid this over, it doesn't quite match up. Notice there's 5x squared and 2x squared. There's 4x, but there's no x term down here. So when you see something like this, the vertical version, you're just going to break this up, and there's basically a blank here. It's a 0. You're going to add 0x. Okay? You don't need to write that. You just leave the space down. And what's nice is when you get to that part, you just drop this one straight down, 4x. Okay, the other two, you have to do some more combining. So this would be 3x squared plus 4x, and then plus 5. Okay. All right, again, that's the horizontal, the vertical way. If it's easier for you, just really quick, I just want to see the different ways. Again, I distribute my negative, so it ends up being negative 2x squared minus 6. Plus 6. It was a negative, now it became positive. All right? And then I could just sit here and think through this and say, hey, this one, I need to subtract this one. Just look for the matching, right, variable with the exponent. That's 5x squared minus 2x. 4x, just 4x, and then the negative 1 plus 6, combine those. Whichever way you guys feel most comfortable with, do it that way. But make sure you show it whatever you do. Okay? Write it out. Make sure you stay organized with these, because what happens is students lose a variable. They lose a number in here. They don't distribute. Okay? And any step along the way that you're making a mistake, we want to catch right away. All right, so here's some for you to try. Again, at this point in the video, pause. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and then the answers will come up in a second. Please make sure you check. There's not going to be a ton of work up here to follow through, or I'll try to put the work in there so you can kind of see. So keep in mind, I'm trying to use those colors to help identify different things. All right. Hopefully this is what you got. Little things to pay attention to overall to make sure. I did them all the horizontal way just because of space, okay, not the vertical way. So if you stack them, that's fine. And did that way. Just a couple of things I want to point out here. You ended up with 3 minus 3, and so it's 0. You don't have to write the 0. Normally you wouldn't write the 0. I just want to make sure that everybody saw that they did cancel out. Okay, and then just be careful about this one because you have your negative 3k squared and then your k. None of those combined, so it's just kind of each one. The only one you had to add together at the end, because the distributive property changed the negative to positive. I get positive 11. Okay. Well, hopefully that's helpful. Again, tomorrow when I come back, we're gonna go over the homework, you guys. If there's little things you're not understanding or big things, ask, and we'll kind of go over. Make sure you understand this. Okay. This one, it says you try, but it says which polynomial represents the sum between these. It's just trying to ask you to work it together. I want to make sure as we're approaching ACT that we're trying to think through things like this, and if there's something you could pay attention to really quick. So, for example, I would look at this and I would say things that I would try to identify really quick. It's addition. And so when I take a negative y and a positive y squared, my y squareds go away. So I can automatically get rid of these two answers. Now that helps me a lot, okay? And then I don't have to do as much because then I just look at this guy here, and this guy here, and if I add those together, I should get 2x. So I would know my answer would be this guy right here. Okay, process of elimination is helpful to getting some of those. Now, if I had started, by the way, if I started adding these together, these would have been my two options. And then I would have gotten to the second one and figured out, well, what do I do there? But again, I think sometimes process of elimination is helpful for you guys to train yourself to think through, because sometimes that helps you to go faster. Okay, think through it carefully, but it's nice to be able to think through those. This one, they're giving you this big problem, like a big situation, and I want to make sure we don't get overwhelmed by it, right? Again, I think you guys, we look at words sometimes, word problems, and there's like this, like too much, okay? The picture is really helpful for us, but a penny is thrown straight downward from a height of 200 feet. At the same time, a paintbrush from a height of 100 feet, okay? And the polynomial represents the heights of the objects after seconds. Okay, so it's telling you how far it is off the ground in t seconds. It says write a polynomial that represents the distance between the two. Okay, the distance between the two is this space right here. What that means, what you would do is you would take the blue, the distance from the penny, minus the distance from the penny, the paintbrush to the ground. If I take the blue and I get rid of this yellow chunk, notice I'm left with this stuff up here, which is the red spot. Okay, so what they're asking you to do is to subtract these first off. So take, sorry, make sure I can read my equations. Negative 16t squared minus 40t plus 200 minus, parentheses, 16t squared plus 100. Okay, so I'm going to change this distributive property. This is going to be negative 16t squared and then minus 100. So this became a negative. Notice I'm doing it vertically this time. And so when I combine my like terms, you have these two. Negative 32t squared. This guy is all by itself, minus 40t. Okay. Plus 100. That would be them combined together. So hopefully that's helpful. This is, again, the distance between the two. one time, and it says, what is the distance between the objects after 2 seconds? So what they ask you to do next is plug into this equation 2 for t. So if I take this equation, take this guy and get my 100 there. All right. Gotta take my circle with me here. We'll get rid of some of this stuff up top. Okay. So if I take this, we're going to zoom in here now that we have that. All right. Plug in 2. So negative 30. Switch this out. All right. Negative 32 times 2 squared minus 40 times 2 plus 100. All right. Negative 32 times 4 minus 80 plus 100. Okay. I'm going to do these really quick because I could do that easy in my head. And then 4 times 32. Just make sure you're careful with your math on each step. 128. 108, and I want to make sure it is feet. Okay. So hopefully you can kind of see all we did was plug in and solve. Be careful on the way you do your math, but you should end up with 108 feet. Okay, so read them carefully. Think through, and I'm not saying this is easy. Think through what they're asking you. Again, the hardest part, I think, with A is setting this equation up. But really, you're saying, like, if I want the distance between these two, I have to take the distance of this one to the ground and chop off this yellow part. That's the hard part. Okay? So read those carefully. All right, and then I'd put these at the end, and I would say, I want you to try these. I want you to practice them. So what I'd like you to do, okay, at the end, all right, before you start your homework, is go ahead and try these. And find somebody else who's done with them. Compare your answers. See if you got the same ones or you didn't. I want you to do that quietly, okay? Let's not get crazy, all right? Help the sub out today and make it easy for them. So try it on your own. Compare your answers with someone else. And then start on the homework. Again, if you have questions, we'll pick things up when I get back, and I'll try to answer anything.